This is what 90 kids will tell their grandkids when they are old. We didn't have no internet. Well, exactly, the internet was already invented, but we had no access to it for a very long time. We had a computer at home though, which we mostly used to play the pre-installed games on like Minesweeper and Solitaire. And of course, we spent countless hours creating masterpieces in Paint. I also had a few computer games aimed at children like Hugo and The Little Prince. People actually owned way more encyclopedias than today, as you couldn't just Google anything at any time you wanted. We didn't even have phones back then. If you were waiting somewhere to get picked up, there was no way to know why your parents were late. You were just stuck there. Then, when they picked you up from school to drive to the lake in summer, all windows were rolled down as no car had an AC back then. At least not the affordable ones. So, finding yourself a nice and slightly cooler parking slot under a tree was way more important than it is now. Otherwise, your car was boiling hot for the whole duration of the drive, and your hair was flying all over the place because all windows were rolled down. When you were lucky, you got to listen to cassettes in the car. Yes, audio cassettes, not CDs. When you were even luckier, you got an ice cream. Hopefully not the one with the gum as the ice cream stick. Everyone loved that one though, except me. I prefer the one which only tastes like milk or the cactus one. Speaking of sweets, you could buy many sweets opened in Austria. This means that you could select yourself one Sour Patch or one Fitzes at a time, which was always a reason to go grocery shopping with your parents. Let's forget about Dreh and Drink. They were horrible. But we loved them back then. Now I think they taste like plastic. Speaking of plastic, you would get a plastic bag automatically while shopping. Something completely normal back then. Luckily, we got more environmentally friendly over the past decade. In order to contact your friends, you had to use the home phone lines, where usually the parents would respond first. And you remembered all important phone numbers of your friends, as you had to dial them every time you wanted to reach them. This was Dr. Kawashima's brain training of the 90s. Anime was getting huge in Europe and all over the world, so children were playing Mila Superstar in kindergarten and Sailor Moon. Then the Pokemania broke out. Pokemon were everywhere. You exchanged stickers in school, bought Pokemon t-shirts, made Pokemon window colors, and had any Pokemon-related merch you can think of. Like lollipops, bouncing balls, everything. If you were extremely lucky, you got a Pokédex for Christmas and could show off all your Pokemon knowledge to your friends. Who doesn't want to know how tall a Pikachu is? You were even luckier when you got a Game Boy Color with a copy of Pokemon Red and or Blue. My first edition of Pokemon was Gold, which released in 2000. This was the best present I might have ever gotten. I was glued to my Game Boy for the remaining Christmas holidays. Although I couldn't figure out how to leave the house at first, because the visual boundary prevented me from pressing down on my Game Boy. Be nice to me, I was 8. Furthermore, I had to do involuntary speed runs every time, because the game asked me if I was sure I wanted to save, but I wasn't sure. I didn't even know what that meant. I couldn't even figure out that Beleber was Beleber. Besides Pokemon, we also got Digimon, which had a way better storyline than Pokemon. The song was also a banger, especially in German. The poker rap was awesome though. And the opening song of Pokemon is a classic. We always had cats at home, plus our digital pets we looked after for a few weeks, then we forgot about them. I'm talking about Tamagotchi. When our parents decided we were over our allowed TV watch time, which was about half an hour, we went outside and actually played a lot. I remember that we always wanted to create a flying machine, which never worked out, of course. Moreover, we modded our bikes with a small tire in the back and a big one in front, so that it looked like a Harley Davidson. I spent countless hours trying to skate and do an ollie, like Tony Hawk, which never really worked out, but it did in my imagination. And it worked out on the computer game. In the evening, the biggest shows I wanted to see were the Millionen Show, the German version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and Wetten, das, where people showed insane bets they presented on stage. Sitcoms were huge too. I mostly stumbled over them because of my older relatives, but got to love Full House, Prince of Bel-Air, and Specially Charmed. I thought I finally understood some English in the title song of Charmed. Later I learned that I was wrong all along and that it meant sun and air. Although air would be a totally logical word to follow after sun in my opinion. Cartoons like Recess, Cat Dog and The Simpsons were popular as well. Animated films like Lion King and Mulan are living in our heads rent-free since the 90s. Regarding music, I didn't know a lot of bands in kindergarten and my first school years, but I remember listening to Nena. 99 Luftballons, 99 Luftballons, 99 Balloons, 99 Luftballons is still one of my favorite songs for karaoke. Nirvana was huge too, but I didn't know them back then. Now I'm really a big fan of them. And let's not forget about the iconic oversized style 90 kids had. T-shirts in bright colors and tight shorts like Ed from Cowboy Bebop wears them. Tattoo necklaces made their debut and also removable tattoos were a hit in primary school. Slap bracelets were also really popular, although I only had the shiny ones you should wear while biking in the dark. In school, we exchanged stickers, especially the odd ones like glowing ones or the ones made out of a special material were really popular. Moreover, we collected everything from didn. We also like to form paper in different forms and shapes. Furthermore, we like to draw in cool and special ways, especially the skater S. At the end of the decade, we not only got to start a new decade, but a new millennium. So when we are old, we can say we are from the last millennium. If not the things mentioned above, maybe this will stun our grandkids. So I turned 30 this year, and I got really nostalgic for the 90s because of that. And I watched a lot of our homemade videos from the 90s and remembered a lot of stuff. So this video should be like a time capsule to represent the 90s and especially what I remember about them. Let me know in the comments what you remember about the 90s and maybe things I have already forgotten about. Well then, have a nice day and goodbye.